Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. Today is Monday, March 16th. This is our daily NBA show that we've been doing with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com. It's the middle of March Madness, of course, but we still got the NBA. 10 games on the card tonight. Joe Duffy, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
I'll tell you what my leans, some of my leans, and then some games that I just think are interesting. Indiana at home, they're a 5 or 5.5 point home favorite. The line actually hasn't moved, which I'm a little bit surprised by. A lot of these overnights, these lines moved a lot since the overnights, but this one hasn't. And Toronto, they're on a back-to-back. They got blasted at home by Portland yesterday. Defense is their problem. Now they're supposedly going to focus on it. Are they going to be able to fix it on a back-to-back here against a quality team at home? And all things considered, 5 or 5.5 points is not that high. Toronto 3-9 against the spread over their last 12. And, the Pacers have lost 2 in a row against spread. They are coming off a loss before that, 9-2 against spread over their 11 before their last 2 ATS losses. So just putting it all together, Indiana -5. What do you think of that, Joe?
Tough to disagree with that. The Pacers have the second best net rating in the last 15 games at plus 9.3, the second best defensive efficiency during that span, allowing only 95.4 points per 100 possessions. And as you said, going to be very tough for Toronto to make back-to-back adjustments. If you're a trendmeister, the Pacers 17-2-1 as a favorite with at least 1 day of rest off of the loss in which they scored less than 15% of their points from the free throw line. So although it's not an official free pick, I would have to agree with you.
And then also from that same game, the Toronto-Portland game, Washington's at home. They're a 2-point favorite. And Portland playing on a back-to-back. They, of course, crushed Toronto. But Washington has now covered 3 in a row against the spread. And Portland, of course, is, missing Matthews. And they're on a back-to-back. Portland playing well, though. 6-1 against spread over their last 7. But Washington, at home, just 2 points as a favorite. And they have covered their last 3, getting a little bit healthier. Is Washington maybe a good play, or is it just too risky to go against a quality team like Portland that's been winning against the spread?
The Blazers, they are 3-1 since losing Wesley Matthews, but remember our theory, there's always a little bit of a point of diminishing return. They've also gone over 3 or 4 without him. They are going to eventually really start to miss his 15.9 points per game and 2.3 assists, 3.7 boards. These are 2 of the hottest teams in the NBA, but Washington is the hotter of the 2 teams. They have the best net rating in the NBA over the last 5 games. At 13.3, they've covered their last 3. Not only have they covered the last 3, but by significant margins of 28.5, 11.5, and 6. Although, as you said, Portland pretty hot themselves, and the Blazers are also plus 10 in their last 5 games as far as net rating is concerned. But really, on the short term, Wizards as hot as it gets over the last 3 games, far and away number 1 in the NBA in net rating at 25.1. But guess who's second? Portland. However, Portland a distant second at 13.1. So if you really believe in going with the hot hand, those people who like going with the hot hand, it would be tough to not bet on Washington in this one.
All right, and then another one, which is another team that's in kind of a bad scheduling spot, is Minnesota, right? They're a 2.5 point home underdog, and that line has crept up a little bit. They're making a 1-game stop between road trips. They're banged up. Rubio is banged up. A bunch of guys are kind of banged up. They just, they got blown out at San Antonio on Sunday, and they're just looking like they're kind of maybe hitting. They're a young team, so maybe they're hitting a wall. It's not a good scheduling spot for them. Brooklyn, of course, is rested. Are they the kind of team, though, that you want to bet as a road favorite against anyone? I don't know. They did get a cover in their last game, but before that, they had a string of ATS losses. Brooklyn -2.5 on the road. I don't know. What do you think, Joe?
Minnesota has certainly been dealing with injuries all year, and just when it looked like they were starting to get healthy, as you said, they're hit with the injury bug again, but that's actually one of our premium plays at OffshoreInsiders.com.
Really? Okay. Well, then
yes.
Go to OffshoreInsiders.com if you want Joe's premium play. If you want my hemming and hawing, keep watching these videos. And then I want to ask you about the Lakers and Golden State. Golden State, one of the most interesting teams in all of sports this year. Right now, they're an 18-point home favorite against the Lakers. And, sometimes Golden State is obviously in a spot where they're overvalued, but they got a lot of flack for sitting some starters in the Denver game, and they came back and absolutely destroyed the Knicks in their last home game. Here they are at home again, and they're again a huge favorite here. One of these 18-point spreads in the NBA. The Lakers, though, 9-2 against the spread over their last 11, and in their last 7 games, they're 1-6 straight up, but 6-1 against against the spread. So I think this is going to be a complete pass review. It is a very interesting handicapping situation. What's your take on this game, Joe? Golden State minus 18.
Lately, humongous home favorites have actually been a good play. I know I looked it up the other day. I don't have the exact record in front of me, but I think for the reasons you stated is why that big favorites are trending as good plays, because now that, it started, of course, by Greg Popovich a couple of years ago, where the superior teams are resting their stars, and sometimes, maybe the team should be laying a couple more, but you don't really have those big favorites that are quite as susceptible to the big letdowns because they're giving a chance to guys that don't play quite as much, and they're going to take the game a little bit more seriously. So although in all my years as a professional handicapper, for the most part, if I have a bias, I'd like to bet on big underdogs, but lately that hasn't been a good idea. And I think that, there is a legitimate reason why big favorites have been covering as of late in the NBA. And if I had to make a pick, I would lean towards Golden State.
Yeah, minus 18. All right, well, the Atlanta-Sacramento game is interesting. Cleveland-Miami is interesting. That line was Miami +6 on the overnight, and LeBron James got banged up in his last games. I don't know if he's out or if his injury is the cause of that movement, but let's get to the picks, Joe.